The sun was beginning its slow descent over the sprawling city of Lagos, its golden light casting long shadows across the bustling streets. Traffic horns blared in an unending chorus, hawkers weaved between cars selling everything from roasted groundnuts to phone chargers, and the smell of fried plantain mingled with exhaust fumes in the heavy evening air. In the wealthy suburb of Ikoyi, however, the atmosphere was different, quieter, cleaner, and sheltered from the chaos of the mainland. Tall iron gates hid sprawling mansions, and luxury cars purred along freshly paved roads. It was here, outside the ornate gates of one of the city's most expensive private schools, that a scene unfolded which no one could have predicted. Adebanjo Olawale, a man whose name commanded respect in the oil and gas industry, was waiting in his sleek black Range Rover to pick up his 10-year-old daughter, Fadik. Known to the public as the billionaire with the golden touch, Adebanjo was a man of immense influence and wealth. But to those who knew him well, he was also a man who believed that the world could be neatly divided between the powerful and the powerless, and he intended for his daughter to always be among the former. As the school bell rang, children streamed out in crisp uniforms, some running toward waiting drivers, others greeted by parents in designer clothes. Adebanjo tapped his fingers impatiently on the steering wheel. He had a meeting in less than an hour, and Fadik was nowhere in sight. He was about to call her when he saw something unusual. Just outside the school's perimeter fence, on a stretch of dusty pavement shaded by a jacaranda tree, sat a young girl, barefoot, her hair in uneven braids, her clothes faded and patched. She could not have been older than 12, yet there was an intensity in her eyes, a quiet strength that made her stand out from the passers-by. What caught Adebanjo's attention wasn't her appearance, but what she was doing. Kneeling beside her was Fadik, giggling as the homeless girl used a stick to draw numbers and letters in the dust. The girl spoke in clear, measured Yoruba, explaining a math problem as if she were the teacher and Fadik her student. Adebanjo frowned. His daughter was supposed to be in an after-school language club. What on earth was she doing with a street child? He stepped out of the Range Rover, his polished Italian shoes sinking slightly into the sand by the pavement. His presence was magnetic, people glanced up, sensing the power in his tailored suit and confident stride. But the homeless girl didn't even look at him. She continued explaining, her voice calm, her stick moving with precision. "Fadik," he called sharply. The little girl startled, looking up guiltily. "Daddy." "Get in the car. Now." Fadik hesitated. "But..." "I said now," he repeated, his tone brooking no argument. The homeless girl finally lifted her gaze. Her eyes, deep brown and piercing, met Adebanjo's. There was no fear there, only a quiet defiance. It unsettled him. Most people avoided meeting his eyes. This girl looked straight through him, as if she could see the man beneath the expensive suit. Fadik climbed reluctantly into the car. Adebanjo turned to the girl. "What's your name?" She didn't answer. "I'm speaking to you," he said, his voice cold. Still nothing. She simply picked up her stick and began to erase the numbers she had drawn in the dust. Adebanjo felt an unfamiliar heat rise in his chest, irritation mixed with something else. He couldn't name it. With a final glance, he got back into the Range Rover and drove off. Inside the car, silence thickened the air. "Why were you with her?" he asked finally. "She was teaching me fractions," Fadik said simply. "You have teachers for that," he snapped. "But she explained it better," his daughter replied, looking out the window. Adebanjo didn't respond. He was thinking about the girl's eyes. The next day, the image of the barefoot child lingered in his mind. During a meeting, while executives pitched a new oil deal, he found himself distracted, remembering the way she had drawn clean lines in the dust. Something about her composure didn't fit the picture he had of the homeless. When school pickup time came, Adebanjo waited again, this time watching for her. Sure enough, there she was under the jacaranda tree, a small group of children gathered around her. She was teaching them multiplication tables. Her voice carried an authority that didn't match her ragged clothes. He stepped out of the car and approached. This time, she noticed him but didn't stop speaking. Only when she had finished the problem did she turn to face him. "You're persistent," she said quietly, surprising him with perfect English. "What's your name?" he asked again. "Zara," she said. "Where are your parents?" She shrugged. "Gone." "You live on the streets?" "Yes." There was no shame in her voice. Adebanjo studied her for a long moment. "Do you want to go to school?" Her eyes flickered, the first crack in her calm demeanor. But instead of answering, she looked past him at the road, as if expecting someone. "I can pay for it," he said, unsure why he was making the offer. Zara's lips tightened. "School is not for people like me." That sentence, that acceptance of her place at the bottom, struck something deep inside him. He almost wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but his phone buzzed with an urgent message. He left without another word. Over the next week, he noticed changes in Fadik. She spoke more confidently, asked sharper questions, and seemed more curious about the world. When he asked where she had learned something, her answer was always the same: "Zara told me." One evening, over dinner, Adebanjo asked his daughter, "What do you know about this Zara?" "She's smart, Daddy. Smarter than anyone in my class. She says she used to go to school but had to stop. She teaches the smaller children so they won't forget what they learned." "Why does she live on the street?" "She doesn't like to talk about it. But she says it's safer out there than where she came from." That answer sat heavy in his chest. One Friday afternoon, a sudden downpour drenched the city. Streets turned into rivers within minutes. Adebanjo arrived at the school to find Fadik standing under the gate, but no sign of Zara. "Is your friend not here today?" he asked. "She's there," Fadik pointed toward the flooded roadside. Zara was huddled beneath a sheet of plastic, trying to shield two much younger children from the rain. Her clothes were soaked through, her lips trembling from the cold, yet she was still telling the children a story, her voice calm despite the storm. Adebanjo's driver pulled up, but he didn't get in. He crossed the street and stood in front of Zara. "Come with me," he said. She shook her head. "No. You'll get sick." "They will too," she nodded toward the children. Something in his chest tightened. For years, he had walked past beggars and hawkers without a second thought. But this was different. He couldn't explain why, but he couldn't walk away. Against every instinct he'd been raised with, he found himself saying, "All of you, come." That evening, in the warm kitchen of his mansion, Zara and the two children sat quietly, their eyes wide as the cook placed steaming plates of jollof rice before them. Fadik beamed, chatting excitedly, but Zara ate in silence, her gaze darting around the room as if memorizing every detail. When dinner was done, Adebanjo asked again, "Do you want to go to school?" Zara looked at him for a long time before answering. "What's the catch?" "No catch," he said. "Just an opportunity." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "People don't give things without expecting something in return." "Maybe some people do," he replied. Zara glanced at the two younger children. Then, quietly, she said, "If I go, they go too." Adebanjo didn't know why, but in that moment, he agreed. And that decision, made on a rainy night in his marble-floored kitchen, would set in motion a chain of events that would shake his beliefs, his business, and his family in ways he never imagined. News of Adebanjo Olawale's unusual dinner guests spread faster than wildfire in his household. By morning, his mother, Mama Olawale, a formidable woman who believed strongly in keeping to your class, was in his living room, arms folded tightly across her chest. "Olawale," she began, "I hear you brought street children into this house?" He looked up from his coffee. "I did." "Have you lost your senses? This is not a charity home. What will people say if they hear the great Adebanjo is sheltering vagabonds?" "People will say what they want," he replied evenly. Mama Olawale's voice hardened. "And this Zara girl. Why is she suddenly teaching your daughter? You can afford the best tutors in the country." Adebanjo didn't answer. The truth was, he'd been thinking about Zara all night. Her mind was sharp, dangerously sharp for a child who had been left to fend for herself. He kept asking himself, what would she become if given a real chance? That afternoon, he made a decision. He called the principal of Fadique's private school. I want to enroll 3 additional students, he said. Effective immediately. There was a long pause on the line. Sir, with respect, our school does not normally. I'm not asking for the usual, Adebanjo cut in. I'm telling you what will happen. Their fees will be paid in full for the next 5 years. Uniforms, books, everything. By Monday morning, Zara and the 2 younger children, who turned out to be her little brother Ibrahim and a neighbor's orphan daughter, Aisha, were standing in the school's reception area, their eyes wide as they clutched new backpacks. It didn't take long for whispers to start. Parents gossiped in hushed tones at drop-off. Some asked if Zara's family had won the lottery. Others speculated about a secret connection to the Olawale family. But the most vocal criticism came from Adebanjo's own business circle. At a board meeting later that week, his oldest friend and business partner, Tund, pulled him aside. Well, this thing you're doing with the street kids, you think it makes you look generous, but people are talking. They're saying you're distracted. That you're losing focus. I haven't lost focus, Adebanjo replied. I'm just seeing things differently. Tund raised an eyebrow. Be careful. In our world, perception is everything. Meanwhile, Zara's arrival at school caused an unexpected shift in Fadique. The two were inseparable, but their friendship wasn't without friction. One afternoon, as they worked on a science project in the Olawale study, Fadique asked, Zara, why didn't you tell Daddy about your parents? Zara's eyes darkened. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is now. But don't you want to find them? I don't look for ghosts, Zara said quietly, and that ended the conversation. The real shock came 2 weeks later, during the school's annual fundraising gala. It was a glamorous event, crystal chandeliers, champagne glasses, and a live band playing high-life music. Wealthy parents mingled, exchanging business cards and praise for their children's accomplishments. When it was time for the student performances, Fadique and Zara were called on stage to present their science project, a homemade water filtration system built from recycled materials. As they spoke, Zara's voice was clear and confident, explaining technical concepts with a precision that left the audience silent. She ended with, In my community, we drink water from the gutter because we have no choice. But I believe everyone deserves clean water, and anyone, no matter where they're from, can be part of the solution. For a moment, there was nothing but the hum of the air conditioning. Then, unexpectedly, the room erupted in applause. Adebanjo stood in the back, watching. Something inside him shifted again, deeper this time. He realized he wasn't just helping a girl, he was witnessing the birth of a force that could challenge the very system he had thrived in. And he knew, not everyone would be pleased. The Monday after the gala, Adebanjo arrived at his office to find a folded newspaper on his desk. Across the front page was a headline in bold. Billionaire oil mogul sponsors street children, hidden agenda or true altruism? Beneath it was a photo of Zara and Fadique on stage, their project in front of them. The article dissected every detail, questioning his motives, speculating about political ambitions, and hinting at dangerous precedent for mixing classes. By midday, 3 contracts had been postponed by investors who claimed they were reviewing commitments. At home, Mama Olawale confronted him again. You see what I was telling you? You've opened your door to trouble. These children will bring you nothing but scandal. But Adebanjo noticed something she didn't. Fadique's grades had improved dramatically. She spoke with more empathy, more awareness. And Zara, despite whispers and stares at school, carried herself with the same unshaken confidence as the day he met her. The breaking point came when Zara didn't show up at school one morning. Fadique was distraught, refusing to go to class without her. Adebanjo sent his driver to the neighborhood where Zara had once lived. They found her sitting on the edge of a broken wooden bench, cradling Ibrahim. The boy was shivering, his breathing shallow. "He's sick," Zara said, her voice steady but her eyes wet. "I can't take him to the hospital. They'll ask for money I don't have." Within an hour, Ibrahim was in a private clinic, receiving treatment. Adebanjo stayed until the boy was stable. That night, as he drove Zara and Ibrahim back to the mansion, he finally asked, "Why didn't you call me?" Zara looked out the window. "Because in my world, people like you help until it's inconvenient. I didn't know if you were still on my side." Her words hit him harder than any business loss. He realized that trust, once broken by the world, was the hardest currency to earn. Weeks later, Ibrahim recovered fully. But the public scrutiny hadn't died down. Invitations to certain elite gatherings quietly stopped arriving. A few board members hinted that his charity experiment should end. Instead, Adebanjo doubled down. He announced the creation of a foundation to fund education for street children, starting with 50 full scholarships. The backlash was swift and loud. But so was the support. Journalists who had once doubted him began following Zara's progress. Parents who had scoffed at her presence at school now admitted she was a top performer. And then came the final twist. Months after the foundation launched, Zara approached Adebanjo one evening while Fadik was doing homework. "I know what people are saying about you," she began. "But I don't care about that. I just wanted you to know something." She reached into her small backpack and pulled out a neatly folded certificate, an award from a national science competition she had entered on her own. "I won first place," she said, a small smile breaking through her usual reserve. "Not just for me. For Ibrahim. For Aisha. For every child still out there." Adebanjo took the certificate in his hands, feeling the weight of what it represented. "You did this," she said simply. "You saw me when no one else did." Wealth could build walls or open doors. And sometimes, the smallest act, offering a chance, could set off a chain of change far greater than the giver could imagine. In the end, the world didn't stop talking. Some praised him, others condemned him. But to Adebanjo, none of that mattered. Because in Zara's eyes, for the first time, he saw something that had been missing since the day they met. Trust. And that, he knew, was worth more than any fortune he had ever made.